if you're already going off the walls with it, like up the ante. Like that's what I need.
Give me that goop.
Yeah, give me the goop. And I just felt like
more Gwyneth Paltrow goop.
maybe less of her goop.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
See dead people.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie.
And Nikisha.
Where we share our love for spooky things and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Well, welcome everyone. Also, speaking of lens, guys, I have news. Your girl is getting actual glasses, prescription glasses.
Oh, dang.
Wait.
Welcome to the club.
Were those not, those were just like...
Blue light.
Oh, just blue light. But now you're getting prescriptions.
I'm getting prescription glasses because I was watching the musical Boop and I was only maybe 20 rows back and my eyes were blurring and I said, I gotta get this fixed.
Oh, damn.
And they told me I have stigmatism in both of my eyes, but doubly bad in my left eye. And so I'm getting some glasses, y'all. I got some cute frames. I'm very excited. They're supposed to come in about a week. So
that's great.
Nice.
Woohoo! I will join the club of actual lenses.
Yes.
And then we can talk horror even more, and it'll be even more exciting. But today, yes.
Do you wear contacts too? Are you getting contacts? Sorry, I'm going deeper into this lens rabbit
No,
hole.
I love it. I am actually going to get contacts right now. I bought 2 frames, which also, why are frames so expensive? My God. But I'm going to get contacts eventually. I want to just try out the glasses for a second, but I found a really great eye doctor in Chicago. So I will get contacts before I leave Chicago and then wear them for the show. So, cause Eliza can't wear glasses, unfortunately, even though that might be really cool, but
sure. Do you know EyeBuyDirect?
No.
So this is not an ad. I just want everyone to know this is not a setup for an ad. We are genuinely helping the kids out.
Fucking wish. If you want to sponsor me, EyeBuyDirect, I have about 25 pairs of your glasses, and I will happily accept a sponsorship.
Okay.
Every single pair of glasses that I own is from EyeBuyDirect. They have great deals. They always do like BOGOs constantly.
Love a BOGO.
And like their frames range in price, but they're all like good quality. They have like these kinds that we're all wearing. They have the like more metal ones, all kinds of styles. They have sunglasses. You can get prescription. You can get blue light. Brian's trying all of his glasses.
I love it.
You can do prescription. You do blue light. You can do transition lenses.
Which they did ask me about.
Want them. Oh, interesting.
And it's really well priced.
Yeah.
It's excellent. And it's I as an EYE. EyeBuyDirect.
That's what I figured. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
I have it saved now. It's on my tab. It's one of my tabs now.
Yeah,
great.
That's a dangerous website. Once you go down that rabbit hole of glasses, as I can attest to, there's no coming out.
I mean, I'm excited because one frame was $250, but they were very cute. And so I just went on ahead and got them. And then, of course, I had to get my Tina Belcher esque frames.
Yes, of course,
because Bob's Burgers is my life, if you guys don't know. So yes, I will definitely look at EyeBuyDirect though, because that is very exciting.
Again,
remember EyeBuyDirect. If you're listening to us, we would love to be sponsored. But this is not an ad.
Thanks.
If you've seen me on YouTube, perhaps you know that I am always rocking a different, usually some fun pair of glasses, but these ones are teal. I think they're called the Holly. I don't know why I remember them. That's the level of chaotic in my brain of how many glasses I purchased from them.
Yes. I love that.
Holly,
Tis the season.
perfect for the holiday season.
Exactly. Tis the season because my gosh, Christmas is coming up round the bend.
Oh my God, I was right. They are called Holly. What's wrong with my brain? I don't know how to do math, but I remember the name of these stupid glasses.
Because glasses are life. Like lenses are life. And if you're gonna get a good deal, we're millennials. We always want a good deal. Give us a
Give me the
BOGO. We'll
deal.
never forget.
Oh my God, so many BOGOs.
So many. Well, yeah, speaking of Holly, 'tis the season because today, lads and lasses, we're talking about the 2015 Christmas horror comedy film, Krampus. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Do we need jingle bells? Ding, ding,
But like sad jingle bells?
dun,
Is that a thing?
Yeah, can you get jingle bells into minor key?
I like that. I like what
That's
Jamie's
scary.
doing.
That's
Yeah.
Add a little gravel to it.
I love a little growl moment.
Yeah.
That's exciting times. Yes. Well, of course, y'all, like, 'tis the season. We're a Halloween podcast, but Halloween doesn't, well, we're a horror podcast, but Halloween is in our souls.
Yes,
so, of course,
365 days.
we are always going to give you all the horror all the time, but now Christmas edition. Horror.
Christmas. Scary.
So, yes.
Wow.
I don't know where that came from, but thank you for going with it, Jamie.
Yeah,
I appreciate the
welcome.
support. So, Krampus was directed by Michael Dougherty, and it stars one Adam Scott, our resident Scream queen, Toni Collette, David Koechner, Allison Tolman, Conchata Farrell, MJ Anthony, Stephania Lavi Owen, Krista Stadler, and introducing Lolo Owen. But yes, heavy spoilers for Krampus. And Jamie, please give us all the trigger warnings.
Yes, this is a creepy Christmas movie. Ooh.
Creepy.
Not your normal Christmas movie. Ooh. So am I correct to guess that this movie's PG-13?
It has to be.
Because there's some, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Disturbing puppets that
It is PG-13.
that because I was gonna say, like, it's not insides on the outside,
Right.
really, but there are, like, disturbing, like, puppety creatures that are attacking people.
And like eating people.
Yeah,
like,
but you
there's
don't
one
like
scene,
you don't really see, like, bites being taken out of people. You
Right.
see, like, a foot go into a mouth after the rest of the body did as well, like an entire like person consumed.
Yes.
Like stuff like that, or like a scary Jack in the Box, and then like cuts to, like, you know, a car shaking. Like like all the kills I feel like are off screen. Someone gets, like, 2 people get dumped into, like, a fiery pit of hell. A bunch of people get sucked into the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the evil like toys and stuff, like, are about to attack someone, and then it, like, cuts away. So, like, I don't think you see a single kill in this movie, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
No, but no,
And
one
not
really
even blood.
dies.
Just lots
Yeah.
of yoinking.
Taken. Everyone's taken.
Yeah, they're just, yeah, I guess that's fair.
Or
They are all
swallowed.
taken.
Yes.
Yeah,
Swallowed.
this ugh. So if you don't like people being swallowed, there's also a lot of, like, practical puppetry happening. So, you know, this is for me specifically. If you don't like puppets, here's your trigger warning. Just like creatures and things like that. Big sharp teeth. Lots of creepy tongues licking things. Maybe too many.
Agreed.
Disturbing gingerbread cookies. The Jack in the Box, I think, is the worst one. Evil elves. And is that it? They reference, which war do they reference? World War II?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
There's references to hell. I'm trying to think if there's
also
anything else.
you just mentioned the evil teddy bear.
Oh yeah, there's an evil teddy bear. Like, every toy that you can think of, like, that would be under the Christmas tree is evil.
Is evil. Is attacking
and,
people
like,
with sharp teeth.
Also, I mean, this is, like, spoilers as well, but, like, trigger warning, like, they don't spare any children. Like, everybody is, like, equally being chased and consumed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, we'll get into all of that, but that definitely warrants a PG-13 rating because like the only blood that you see is just when David Kettner's character gets bitten on the leg.
Yeah,
and like
that's like the only wound.
Yeah,
I think.
And you don't even see the bite. It's like he gets bitten underneath the snow, and then they pull him out, and then
you see a little of the aftermath of like them trying to clean the wound.
Right.
Yeah, but you do see Adam Scott get stabbed by the robot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that was more of like it kept hitting him, and then you see Toni Collette yank it out of him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just there was very little impact.
Yeah.
That's seen. A lot of the shots I feel like are cut away, or you see the aftermath of some of the things.
Which is good for people if you don't want, extra scary things. I think this is definitely appropriate for like people who don't want a lot of right. I literally was gonna say young child. I was like, no, but it's appropriate if you don't like a lot of gore, but you want something a little on the scary, creepy side. Like I think this is a good fit for you if that's your vibe. If you're dipping your toe in the horror world, the Christmas horror world, then this is a good one for you. Okay, before we get into all of this, though, producer Brian, do you have some words for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Producer Brian here. You can find us on YouTube. If you're listening, you can watch us. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Very excited for you to see us there. In addition to that, you can find us on social media at Talk Horror Pod on places like TikTok, on places like Twitter, on places like Instagram. So follow us there, of course. We are doing some fun stuff there. We're reviewing movies outside of the ones we do on the podcast. So check it out there for our suggestions and stuff like that.
Fantastic. Well, have you guys watched anything new lately? Because I have, but you tell me yours.
No, you go first. Go for it.
Okay. Well, I finally, to get ready for our end of the year thing, watched the perfect combination that is Homelander from The Boys and Janice Ian from Mean Girls. I watched Cobweb.
Oh man.
What a time I had watching this in the late night hours by myself. And I definitely had nightmares after. But I'm really excited because I'm sure that we probably will talk about it on our end of the year podcast. But I had a good time. Not going to lie. Overall, like, I enjoyed the twist. Some of the CGI took me out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But aside from that, the way that they build tension is so great to me. And I think that was the most unsettling and not any, because there weren't really a lot of jump scares in it. But I think that the tension got me, like just staring at an open door in a dark hallway for like a minute and then just waiting to see what happens, like really just had my heart rate up. And I thought the performances were excellent. I loved the wide fishbowl shots in some of the scenes. Like I really enjoyed the cinematography of it all. So I'm definitely happy that I watched this because this will definitely be within my top 10 of the year, I think.
Interesting.
I have some more stuff to watch beforehand, but I feel I really had a good time watching this. So
interesting. In your top 10. I'm very excited to talk about that. Like really very excited to talk about it.
But I also had no expectation. I just saw that a lot of people were talking about it. And so I was like, oh, let me watch it. And I don't know. I think I'm starting to now like anticipation and tension building over jump scares.
Sure.
As far as like an overall experience of a horror movie. And so it gave that to me and I appreciated it.
Cool. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you liked it so much.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. That's good. What did y'all
Cool.
watch?
I watched 3 things.
Yes.
One I told you about via text. It is a Swedish slasher movie called The Conference, which is awesome. It's one
Yeah.
of my favorite slashers of the year by far. It's basically about this group of public servants who go to like a professional development retreat, all while they're trying to like build a new mall in this town that doesn't want the mall. And then essentially at this retreat, they get picked off one by one. Um, it has a very high concentration of people that I can't wait to see die. And so that was super satisfying, but it was balanced really well. All those toxic people were balanced really well by like 1 or 2 not toxic people who you're following and you want to survive.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done. I thought the kills were super unique and various across the spectrum. And many times I literally went like, oh my god, like the impact was so brutal on some of them that like it really got me.
Ooh. Okay.
But it's also really fun, and it makes you like a lot of it is yucky in terms of how toxic their work culture is. So like you like if you had watched this movie not knowing it was a slasher, you'd be like, I hate these people. Like, why am I putting myself through this movie? But knowing that like they're all goners, without spoiling anything, like that's how slasher movies work.
Right.
It's on Netflix. I would highly suggest it.
That's on my list. I need to watch that and Skinamarink before we do.
Oh, interesting. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't counting Skinamarink because I watched it last year, but you can absolutely count it in yours.
Well, I think technically it released
Released this year properly.
Yeah.
I watched it.
Exciting.
I watched it when it came out last
Improperly.
year. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I also watched When Evil Lurks.
Oh, yeah.
That's in my top 10 of this year for sure. Spoiler
Okay.
alerts.
Spoilers.
That one. I mean, depending on what I watch over the next couple days and weeks.
Right.
That one was all I'll say. I think you should watch it, Nikisha. It's on Shudder. The only thing I'll say about that movie is that it is the most unique horror concept I've seen in a while.
Okay.
So I really dug that, but I'll wait for you there. And then it's not really a horror movie, and we'll actually have this conversation next week when we do Violent Night. But it was more of a home invasion type movie. I watched Fear the Night with Maggie Q.
Okay.
It was more of a like, we need to protect this home, from this home invasion during a bachelorette party. It was fine. totally fine. Yeah, so those are the 3 major ones that I watched since the last time we recorded.
And what number are you on as far as new releases that you have seen this year?
This year, I am up to 45.
Golly, jeez.
Oh, I think I made a little playlist so that I could keep track, but I am not. I am not
At
5. Oh, I was at like 19.
Okay.
That's still pretty
And mine's
good.
probably even less than that.
But yeah, I've seen 45, and I'll talk through everything that I've seen. Not like give reviews, but I'll list everything I've seen on next week. Not next week, on our end of the year episode.
Okay.
But yeah, those are the ones I saw. 2 out of 3 ain't bad in terms of like truly good stuff.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shall we get into Krampus? Very
Let's
excited.
not cramp anyone's style and get into Krampus.
Oh, hey.
And get into Krampus. All right. So we need a plot summary of Krampus. So
Okay.
producer Brian is going to give that to us.
What's the plot?
All right, let's do the plot summary for Krampus. I'm ready if you're ready.
I'm
Woohoo.
ready.
All right.
All right. Ready, set, go.
All right. So it's Christmas, and this family who is made up of a teenage girl, their young son, and Toni Collette as the mother and Adam Scott as the father, along with Adam Scott's elderly mother, who is German. They are hosting Christmas. They're Toni Collette's sister and her entire family come over for Christmas. However, it's all dysfunctional. We learn from the little kid who has a really good relationship with his German grandmother that, Christmas hasn't been the same. The dad works a lot. Mom isn't like, buying into the Christmas spirit. They all hate their cousins. Their cousins are from a different part of like walk of life. They're very obnoxious, but he still believes in Santa. So he writes a letter to Santa, which his cousins end up reading out loud and deeply embarrassing him at dinner. And his dad comes into his room and basically tells him like, hey, no, he says, don't worry, we'll get through it. You should still believe in Santa. Anyway, he rips up the letter and basically makes an anger-filled wish that he wishes, that he doesn't believe in Santa or the Christmas spirit anymore. And then what happens is basically Krampus comes, and we find out that Krampus is picking them off one by one and taking them away and basically giving the kid the gift of like his family going away. They're all picked off. They're all trying, the whole town disappears. There's a storm. There are amazing effects. But Krampus is taking them all away with like gingerbread men who are trying to kill them, with elves with these creepy masks. You have toys coming to life. All of this is happening. And so in the end, they try to escape, but he decides to give his own life to get all of his family back. And they wake up at the end and it's Christmas and everything is wonderful. We find out they're stuck in a Krampus snow globe because he made the wish that he wishes Christmas was the same as it always was. So they're just living in a snow globe to repeat the Christmas over and over and over again. And it's left ambiguous to if they know that they're in a snow globe or not. That is Krampus, more or less, miss.
And that's the plot.
Yeah, with a little bit of Groundhog Day sprinkled in, if that's what you fancy. Fantastic. Let's get into the first segment of likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Here's my initial question. Who knows the lore of Krampus? Like, what is the story? Does anybody have off the top idea? Or have you heard of it before this movie came out?
I've heard of Krampus. I assumed it was some kind of like evil version of Santa, kind of like a folklore of like encouraging children to be good around Christmas time, because otherwise like the bad version of Santa would come get you or like punish you.
Yeah. Which is so funny to me. Like, it feels like, especially our generation and probably even generations beforehand, it's like, okay, you got to be good or this is what's going to happen. And it's the most extreme thing of like, everything's going to be taken away from you if you aren't good. It's very churchy, very kind of like that kind of disciplinary like style.
So what I know about, I think Krampus means claw. It's like Bavarian or German in nature. I think it's pre-Christian. So it was probably used to scare children, like behave or the Krampus will get you. And then over time, like most of Christianity, it like pulled in a lot of other like pagan, traditions and other things like that. And this is mostly just like a European German, like Eastern European or excuse me, Western Eastern, like right that border in there. So that's my understanding of what the Krampus is. I know that they have like Krampus parades over there and stuff like that. But I think in some like lore, the Krampus actually teams up with Santa Claus and they like go together and like Santa Claus rewards the good children and Krampus like, deals with the misbehaved children, something like that. But I only, to be completely honest, I only did the Krampus research like after we watched the movie, because I was like, I really don't know this lore at all. So when watching the movie, I did not know the lore. So I had no expectations for what Krampus was when watching the movie, except for what I like basically know on the periphery, which was like you said, Nikisha, there to like, get those misbehaved children.
Ooh, right. It's so funny that you say of German or what other.
Bavarian.
Yes, because there's a German market that comes around in Chicago every year. It's the Chris Kindle Market. And it's just this outdoor market with a whole bunch of different booths with different Christmas ornaments, different things. But there's like a number of booths that have Krampus decorations, or like you can buy Krampus dolls or like masks and stuff. And so I thought that that was like really funny, of this very kind of horrific character intermingled into this holiday, especially like in the States too, now, of people just kind of incorporating
Sure.
it. And I never heard of Krampus until like around the time this movie came out. So to the same as Jamie, it all I thought of it was just like a the mean version of Santa Claus.
Sure.
So it was just like, instead of, oh, you've been bad and you get coal instead of presents, right? Like that was the only thing that I knew. And then hearing about Krampus is like, oh, well, no, there's an actual person that will come and, like, I don't know what he would do, but he would just terrify all the kids. So it was really interesting coming in and watching this movie and seeing like what this movie presented Krampus as.
Sure.
So within our likes and gripes, would anyone like to start on how they felt about it? And is this your first time watching it? Because this is my first time watching it.
Yes.
Yeah. We've
Also
never
first
seen this
time.
before. So this is brand new for all of us.
Exciting. Brian, do you want to start? You don't ever start.
Sure. So I don't know how you, I mean, I know how Jamie felt. I don't know how you felt, but I really liked this movie a lot. I was very surprised by this movie. I just like really, really dug it. What I did not know is that this movie was, directed by Michael Dougherty, who did Trick or Treat. So it has a lot of those same themes in terms of not following the rules, things like that. It also had the amazing practical effects. But I'll just go through some of my likes here. I thought of you, Nikisha, because the Universal logo was in ice, and I know your new thing is that you really like the logos like getting you into it.
That's one of my likes.
Yeah. I like the opening tone. This had a very Trick or Treat meets the first 20 minutes of Home Alone vibe. And I really liked that. I like the Black Friday tone that kind of sets up everything that's happening. The juxtaposition of like the Christmas music against like people tearing their throats out, and just like how Christmas has changed, and that kind of like symbolically representing the family. I like that A Christmas Carol was on the TV to represent like somebody learning, how to change themselves over the course of Christmas. I really liked this. I don't know why I like this, and maybe this is a gripe for some of you, but I like that the grandma spoke German, but everyone understood her. I thought that was funny.
Didn't bother me.
Yeah. I think this cast is great. I think I mean, let's be honest. This cast probably enhances this material a great deal.
Yes.
But I thought they were great. I really felt all of the anxiety in my core during the introduction of their cousins at the beginning of this movie. They felt real in a way that didn't feel exaggerated for a movie's sake, if that makes sense. I really felt like this is how somebody would potentially act around family members who they don't really love. That aspect of things, because I also felt like the two sisters had a realistic relationship where even though they were jarring at each other and jabbing at each other, I felt like they actually still loved each other. And both of them felt a little bit embarrassed for the other one and themselves. And I think that, again, I think that's the performances in there. And I like that everybody's a piece of shit in their own way. Like Adam Scott and Toni Collette are pieces of shit in their own way. Obviously, you're made to side more with them than the cousins, who are bigger pieces of shit. But like, no one's perfect in this movie. I said, of course, this is in Pennsylvania, when they
Yes.
they made the Steelers reference or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked once the once the Krampus, like, all that starts, I really liked all the little moments where they would connect, like, you know, Adam Scott and the cousin in the car talking about Bing Crosby, you know, the the parents when they're looking out the window saying, like, I miss us, you know, even though they're stuck in the house with no heat and they're all, like, really anxious and don't know what's going on, it gives them all a moment to, like, slow down and, like, really, like,
Mm-hmm.
figure out what's going on with them, which feels very much like something that could happen at Christmas or with Scrooge or something like that. And then the angel on the tree, when the two sisters talk about, like, the picture that she saved of the two of them when their mom died, or whatever the case. Like, I really like those little moments to kind of show that, like, you know, they, you know, again, thematic. You work together to, you know, find the commonalities among your differences, and during the holiday season and all of that, set against the backdrop of, you know, being taken by the Krampus. I think I really like that his Eagle Scout training came back to help, and that was something that brought the two of them together. And then I thought that the special effects in this movie, even the CGI of the gingerbread men, really hold up from 2015. I feel like there's a pocket of special effects, specifically CGI special effects, in, like, the mid 2000s ish, maybe like early 2000s through mid 2000s or whatever it is, that they really hold up because they're not oversaturated, like, with all this Marvel stuff where, like, they're, like, grinding everyone to the ground, but they're not old enough that they don't really look that real. They're actually, like, creating some really interesting special effects that are rendered nicely. And yes, we still know that they're CGI, but, like, I just thought the gingerbread men held up, especially also because they only used the CGI when they had to use the CGI. Like,
You mean gingerbread men aren't real?
What?
I know.
My
I'm just
God.
saying. But even, like, it's a doll when he's biting the head off. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and then cutting back to it. But yes, they're not real. I'm sorry to disappoint anybody.
Man.
I thought the stop motion section was spectacular when they're telling the story of how the Krampus came to her and basically took her entire family. I'm interested to see how she, like, lived her life, like, being an orphan in some ways.
Right.
I really thought the Jack in the Box snake was awesome. I thought that the Wii sounds effect for Dorothy being pulled out was awesome. I thought the masks looked great. I thought the silliness was good. I thought the dark versions of everything, just like the dark elves and all that stuff, was, like, really, really cool. And I definitely teared up when they were all being picked off as they were running to the truck, when they were saying goodbye to, like, their mom and their kids and stuff like that. Like, that definitely got me. But I will also say that my expectations for this movie were that I didn't expect it to be so silly and fun with these, like, really great creatures. This is not the movie that I expected. I don't know. I think I expected something a little bit darker, a little bit, like, more horror, a little bit more jump scares here or there, but I didn't expect such, like, a fun, like, whimsical dark romp, if you will.
Right.
And that worked for me, and I recognize that might not work for everybody, but, like, totally took me by surprise. Really enjoyed this. Some of my gripes with this movie, I think that you can he's, like, making fun of him for being an Eagle Scout. Like, I think you could defend that to the end. There's, like, you know, I'm glad that came back, because in that moment I was like, well, defend yourself. Like,
Exactly.
being an Eagle Scout, like, you learn a ton of great stuff.
Yes.
That's not how addresses work, kid. That's not how you write to Santa.
I'm dead.
I don't know how I feel about this, but the grandma doesn't tell them what it is. Like, she knows. And I understand that they wouldn't have believed her in that moment. And she kind of told them at the moment where a lot of them would believe her. But I just don't believe that she wouldn't have, like, said something earlier if this was her family. I guess she's assessing the situation as everyone else. But, like, that was like, come on, grandma. Like tell us what's happening.
Come on, grandma.
This is an interesting one, but I kind of found it hard to empathize with a post-war Germany. In the the like flashback sequence, and I recognize that like, you know, the individuals in Germany like may have been freed from the oppression that like they had where their government was like this monstrous thing, but like I just still had a hard time, like they're like Germany was in hard times, like I'm I get what you're doing here, and I like the stop motion, but there was a little part of me that was just like I couldn't super empathize, even if like she's just a little young German girl, and like they were trying to get the spirit, like bring back like the spirit of Christmas during like, you know, yada yada yada. I don't know. It just felt it 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 rubbed me the wrong way just a little bit.
Yeah, fair.
I really wish they had more scares. I do. As much as I like the silly and fun, I needed more. Like I was just I wanted a couple more there.
More. That should be
and
our merch.
More. I know.
Morror.
And my number one gripe with this movie is that the poster ruined the ending. The poster of this movie, one of the posters of this movie,
you're
is
right.
just the Krampus claw holding a snow globe. And the second that he woke up, after he falls into that pit into hell, the second that he wakes up and it's snowing, and that's like, oh, they're in a snow globe. Like I knew it from the second that, because I knew the poster, and I was like,
okay.
I know exactly what's happening. So that kind of bothered me a little bit, because I would have loved to like have that reveal work for me. But I knew it was going to happen immediately because of that poster, which is a real bummer. But you know, I really enjoyed this movie. It gave me I like Trick or Treat better than this movie, but it really gave me Trick or Treat vibes for obvious reasons. It's well acted, and the practical effects and the creature creations are really great. So those are my likes and gripes.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of that because you've said a lot of the stuff that I felt. Most importantly, the expectation of going into this movie, because I also thought that it would be darker and more. So, but after I figured out that that's not what this kind of movie is, then when I let go of that expectation, I started to enjoy it more for what it was, because this just feels like a very cutesy, and I'll go ahead and, well, I won't spoil my suggestion, but it is a cutesy, you know, kids be nice or Krampus will come type of movie, like we've all stated before. And so letting go of the fact that there's not going to be a lot of gore, you're not going to see the kills, you know, and there's going to be more of the comedy and like the, you know, crazy toys coming out and attacking you, but like in a kind of funny way too. Like, then I was like, okay, it's fine.
How long did it take you to get there?
You know, I think it took seeing that first gingerbread that Toni Collette sees because of the CGI of it. And I was like, okay, I think this is not going to be what I think it's going to be.
Yeah, okay.
And
sure.
even though I wasn't a super fan of the CGI, I also thought that it still fit with the overall tone and theme.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me as much. And it was definitely, like you said, Brian, very 2015. Like I literally put like this very 2015 aesthetic of like what CGI was in that time. So I can rock with it, you know. But if it was that kind of CGI and trying to be darker, then I really wouldn't like it. But because it was like lighthearted anyway, then it's like, okay, well then I can go with what the CGI was. I did love the practical effects though, of course. That Jack in the Box was fantastic. I also love the opening scene of the, like you said, Brian, juxtaposition of, you know, consumerism and capitalism, all this stuff, people trying to get all the stuff, and then like what the holiday is supposed to be about and all that. I also love the animation. That was one of my favorite parts, was the stop motion in this movie, just because I thought it was very well done. And I was very surprised that it didn't take me out of the whole thing. It just still kind of fit very well within how they were telling the story. So that was really nice.
It had like a Deathly Hallows vibe to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one of my favorite quotes was, "I don't even know how to drive a stick. We have a hybrid." That was really cute. to Brian's point about the acting or the actors enhancing it, I agree, because I definitely put that the actors did the best they could with what they were given, but I thought that their acting was very cohesive. Like, despite what the expectation was, I think how they acted, the CGI, the cinematography, like everything still fit within the theme.
Sure. So
So
just
yeah,
to clarify, for my own, because I want to understand what you're saying. You're saying that like
yes,
everybody felt like they were in the same movie.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I felt that way, even though I thought that maybe and maybe this just has to go with what I thought the movie was going to be, but like,
Hmm.
if if the script wasn't as, but the actors, did a great job with the dialogue and what they had in the script. And I thought that they were all a part of the same movie.
Yeah.
Um, I think that was mm, pretty much all of my, because Brian, you said a lot of stuff that I agreed with. And like I said, when I got past like this movie is not going to be what I thought it was going to be as far as being a darker horror movie, then it was like, okay, this is just fun. This is like a fun, um, introduction into horror Christmas genre. It's like
Mm-hmm.
one of those of like, okay, you pop in like, um, what is that? Charlie Brown, or you pop in like the little animated like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and then
Yeah,
it's
the
like,
Rankin and Bass, Rudolph, and
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And then it's like, okay, well, for like the 13, 14-year-olds, it's like, and then we watch Krampus, and
sure,
like
sure.
that's our holiday setup, so
Yeah, like I wish to go along with your gripe, like and the one we had in common, like the morror one.
mhm.
I feel like this. I liked it, but I feel like this movie played it pretty straight. Like
Yes.
you knew the beats it was gonna hit, and it was really engaging during a lot of those beats with like the special effects and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
there's something like there's a bite missing to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's like it feels it feels pretty safe, and but I liked that. I
Mhm.
once I got into that, I liked that, but there's something that it doesn't put it over the edge, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like a Trick or Treat, whether it's the final
Yes.
sequence with Sam, or whether it's just the one, or depending on which sequence you like better in that. Obviously, this is
Hmm.
one narrative and not an anthology, but it definitely missed some of that.
Yeah. And I think, it kind of brings it back, because when they did wake up, like I didn't think about the movie poster. So when Max did wake up and was like, everyone was, around the Christmas tree about to open presents and waiting for him, I was like, oh, I hope that this doesn't end happy, because
Sure.
we've gone through so much. It's like I need a better ending than everything is just like back to normal. So
Hmm.
I think that what made me like it more was that you can interpret the ending however you want to interpret it. Of, like you said, Brian, if they know they're in a snow globe, or if they are remembering what happens, especially when they're looking at the Krampus ornament that Max is holding. I thought that was a great scene of everyone just kind of like in their own heads, like everything coming back to them in a sense.
Yeah.
But I liked that that was the ending, because I mean, it's if we're gonna take it this far and you picked off everyone, like there's no coming back from that,
Yeah.
unless you have 30 more minutes in the movie to get everybody back. But
Yeah.
there wasn't, so I was happy that that was the ending.
Yeah. I definitely like the ending. Just the impact of the ending was dulled for me
Yes.
because of that. Yeah.
Oh, fair. Absolutely. Yeah, I
Hmm.
agree. That's all my likes and gripes. Jamie?
Um, I wait, Brian. You said that you knew what I thought about this movie.
Yeah.
What do you think I think about this movie?
It was fine.
Ooh.
I think I like actually didn't like it.
Oh. Well,
Okay.
I saw
I
your
don't
letterbox
know
gave it 2.5.
Yeah, whoa,
Oh.
way to out my letterbox score. I don't know what I was expecting, but like it wasn't this at all. And I just feel like it's one of those things where like it just was not delivering on what I wanted in that particular moment. Maybe I just like wasn't in the right mood for it, but like
Mm.
it just didn't give me what I wanted. And maybe now that I'm thinking about it, having just rewatched Home Alone for the umpteenth time, maybe I have a harder time blending horror and like the Christmas time movies, I don't know, because like
Okay.
I like Black Christmas, so maybe that's wrong. That's a wrong hypothesis. I don't know what it was about this particular movie, but like it just didn't do it for me.
Sure.
But I will say I found the puppets like super fucked. Like it was like very disturbing to look at. And again, yes, this is from somebody who is afraid of puppets, but I hated looking at the Jack in the Box and the way that its mouth opened. I hated it. And the Krampus was disgusting. It was just a terrifying open mouth that looked like it was yelling into the abyss of hell. And then its long tongue came out gross. So like it gets points for being disgusting and terrifying in that way, because like this is horror and that scares me. So good for you. But I did not like the CGI. I felt like that really took me out of it. I felt like if you were going to go with like the really campy vibes of like, you know, it's evil toys and like everything that you love about Christmas is now turning on you. It had to be scary. It had to have more horror elements. And
Sure.
I think that this movie really suffers from its PG-13 rating because it's way more interesting that like you are presenting terrifying creatures to me, and I don't see a single person get killed in a satisfying way.
Sure.
And they all just disappear. And like I understand that like they're all just ending up in like a snow globe at the end, and like Krampus is just like collecting them all, but like to what end? Isn't the point to like teach a lesson? What does keeping them locked in a globe do? Like
That's fair.
Who's learning a lesson? Like what's the point? So I feel like it would have made a greater point, like the threat of keeping the hope alive and believing in Santa, like up the ante by like murdering people in ridiculous, gruesome ways, you know, by like show me someone getting chomped in half. I don't want to see someone get swallowed whole. For some reason that weirds me out more, but like not in a satisfying, not in like a like, oh, I'm really digging this horror movie. It just makes me feel really uncomfortable.
Sure.
So I didn't like that. Like I also don't like things unhinging there. It was just like it was like watching a snake eat a mouse by unhinging its jaw. And like I don't like that. I don't like to watch that content. So like not for me.
You got Deborah Logan.
Oh.
But that's like I don't know. That's so much more absurd and disturbing. And maybe because they yoink her back out, maybe because it's goopier. It's way goopier. Yeah. And like this, there was no, I'm like, I mean, I guess it's hard to be like, okay, Jack in the Box is probably not going to be super goopy because it's just like a toy, but like it's also eating a young girl whole. So like, give me some goop. Like you can, if you're already going off the walls with it, like up the ante. Like that's what I need.
Give me that goop.
Yeah, give me the goop. Give me like blood gushing out of its mouth. Like make the teeth bloody. Like just be wild. But it went to like weird extremes, but not in the way that I found satisfying for me personally.
Sure.
And I just
this
felt
needed
like
more Gwyneth Paltrow goop.
maybe less of her goop in general. I also felt like a lot of people weren't really peopling in this. Like, again, like you said, clearly the grandma, Omi, knows what's up. And for whatever reason, everybody understands German and none of them can speak it back. But there's no way that she can just like tell them like right from the get-go so they can prep. Instead, she is keeping the fire hot, which seems really important at first, and then it doesn't anymore. I thought that was like part of the rule to like keep them safe is to keep the fire hot so it can't get in the chimney. But then like once the fire goes out and they keep the fire lit again, but at that point it doesn't matter because everything gets in the house anyway, and they like just barrel through windows. Like it's not totally clear what the defense system based on the rules is supposed to be. I thought that it was you keep the fire hot and then Krampus can't come down the chimney, which makes sense. But then like the whole house becomes dilapidated, so like who cares? But that seemed inconsistent. But I've said this before, I hate the trope when people don't communicate effectively with each other, and this seems like one of the examples of like, hey, I had this like life altering trauma when I was a child, and this seems eerily similar to that, so let me tell you about it right now. And then even if they're like, that's a wild story, which like they already said at a point where it shouldn't have been that wild because your child got kidnapped with a large chain and a talking gingerbread cookie, that like they could have ignored it, and then like bad things continue to befall them, and that even feels more satisfying because at least she gave the warning. But again, it's just the dumb trope of like withholding information for no reason, and then it's like too late anyway. I also didn't find it satisfying that like Omi has her like goes toe to toe with Krampus to get taken by the toys.
Yes.
Which again, you don't even see it. The cuts in this movie drive me wild. I like really can't get over how they cut everything. I mean, is there a director's cut of this movie? Because I would rewatch a director's cut. I'm more interested. Like, I just want to see toys rip these kids apart. I think that it's silly that the young daughter Beth goes out when it's like blizzarding outside. Like, that's wild to me. Like, even if her boyfriend isn't responding, the fact that her parents let her go, like, not my parents, couldn't be my parents, like, absolutely not. So that was wild. I also like hate we'll talk about family dynamics and things like that, but I also just hate the unexpected terrible person like shows up and just like says whatever they want to say consistently, and like no one ever calls them out on it. Like
that aunt.
No, I couldn't handle her. I was like, this is outrageous. She's wild. She's like, oh yeah, I'll watch the kids. I'll teach them how I make my favorite cocktail. Like, what? Like, no, maybe you go sit in front of the fire and keep it warm by like, you know, pouring your alcohol on it. That will fuel the fire. Like, oh my God. I couldn't stand her. And yeah, I felt like choices that people were making, everyone keeps like separating. It's like, why do people keep making these same dumb choices? Why are they letting young children explore a house by themselves in the dark, like just constantly? Why are they putting the baby in the playpen by itself when there's a full-on crisis happening? I'm like, nobody would do this. Nobody, like, either everyone's going to the bathroom at one time collectively in one big group. The baby is always on the people at all times. I mean, they forgot the baby in the car, which I also thought was just like a weird joke. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So much of this and so much of what people are doing doesn't make sense. And I get that it's like there's a lot of tension because they're from different like walks of life and whatever, but like these aren't like real human people. There's nothing about them that like makes them act human. And quite frankly, the things that Toni Collette's character is being criticized for, like, I identify with. So I'm like, am I being shamed by like these other family members for like wanting things to be neat and organized, or like wanting to make like fun meals for like a holiday to when like I'm the host? Like, you don't have to fucking eat my food, I guess, but like I'm making it because you're all coming to my house and like I'm paying for it, so like fuck you. I just like it all felt super grating on me, like all of these characters. And so I was really hoping that they would all just be like eaten by elves, and then to not even see that happen was disappointing. And then my last thing I'll say is like, I also recognize that I'm a person that doesn't like movies that like don't end positively, so that's totally my own thing. Like, I'm just prefacing that, but like, yeah, this is a movie where like, you know, do they really survive? Is it like a positive outcome? Like, no. And so like, that's just annoying, but like it's also not even they all just like come to the realization at the same time and like look at each other, and that kind of feels like it falls flat. Like I don't really know how it could have been even more like dismal and sad, like given the context of the movie and the setup, but like I felt like that's what they were going for, but even that kind of didn't even like hit quite hard, because it's like, okay, now they're trapped, like they're still alive. They just live in the snow globe, and like what, they have Christmas every day, and like, oh sorry, your Groundhog's Day Christmas snow globe life, like guess that sucks.
Right.
I don't even know. It's like they're just opening presents every day forever. Is that really that bad? It could be worse. I want it to be worse, and I never want that, but it didn't even give me that.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't expect that. You gave it a 2.5 on Letterboxd. I didn't expect that.
I just really didn't. It was not for me. I'm really bummed, and I like a lot of the people in this movie, but it wasn't. I don't know. It really didn't do it for me.
Something that you did say that I forgot to add to my gripes was this movie needed rules. Like this needed like
I thought there
real
were rules, but then it like
rules.
kind of fizzled out. Like
Yeah.
the main rule that it seemed like was like when hope is lost, or like when the belief is gone, then you're doomed. And it doesn't matter if you're like being performative. If you don't believe, then nothing can save you. But like I think that's really the only rule we ended up getting, because
like I wanted to know more about the fire that you mentioned, if that was something.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to know, like, you know, whatever, they could make up other rules. I don't know. I think this movie,
or even the ending with Max and like everything he was saying, because at that point it's like nothing mattered, but it did seem genuine, his like pleas for his family and being like I don't care, I just want them back. So like even that, it's like when does Krampus decide that it doesn't matter anymore? What's like the threshold of timing?
Right.
Yeah, like Krampus became like an evil genie at the end, where he would just like grant any wish that was Christmas related. You know, like I just needed some more Krampus rules. And then Jamie also said about the grandma Omi, when she wanted to face Krampus, that was very unclear. Was she trying to like stop him because she didn't do anything? Was she just trying to distract him or buy them time?
Right.
She's like, I see you, Mr. Krampus, and
I see you and your big fat teeth. I don't really know what she. My guess is she was just trying to like distract him or buy them time.
I guess, but like that wasn't gonna last very long.
Yeah, she's like this old frail woman who like couldn't put up a fight. I don't know.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think she, maybe it was just because she was in her old age and she was just like, I'm tired of running from this fear, so let him just consume me. It's like, okay,
I'm tired of this, like, Grandpa.
Yeah.
That's too damn bad.
That's Krampus responding.
That is Krampus. But to your point about the rules, though, which I think is why I did like this ending, even if there could have been a better one, of course, but it's because when Max was like making those pleas, I was just thinking like, this can't be how it ends. Like, it can't just be Max is like, all I wanted was this is my wish, and then it all happens and it's like everyone's like back to normal. So I think it was nice to see that Krampus was like, I don't care, like everything is
fuck what you want, little kid.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
dump in this hole.
Totally.
Exactly. So I think that like was the thing that was okay, made it okay for me, was that he ignored what Max was trying to say and ask of. But I totally get it, Jamie. I understand, like, especially if you feel like this is not your kind of movie, and even expectations aside, like you said, like with not having the gore, with the puppets, with how people are acting. I mean, I guess it is one of those movies where it's, I don't know, you either like it or you don't, right?
Yeah.
Like it really is just like it's either you see it for like just the comedy of it all because it is considered a horror comedy and like just it being very
Right.
surface level and not having a lot of details within the rules and stuff like that. But if that is your expectation, then of course it's definitely I can totally understand all of your points of view, Jamie.
I would also argue.
Sorry.
No, it's okay
all
because I
good.
would also
Yeah.
argue that it's actually not funny. Like it's
Fair.
considered a horror comedy, but like, what does that even mean? Because I have some quotes here that some of them. Don't get me wrong. There were some funny moments where I actually chuckled. Like,
Mhm.
You
but there were
laughed a
some, like-
lot. Wait, no, you laughed a lot throughout this movie. Like
Maybe I did.
very frequently.
Obsessed.
The biggest laugh in this movie that I got was when she starts speaking English to tell the story, and then the Aunt Dorothy is just like, English, I knew it. Because I, at the same
You
moment...
said it out loud when she was saying it.
Yeah, like I said the laugh line, so that I enjoyed. Where's the nog? I need to get Mary.
Yes.
We know you still believe in the big fat creeper.
Ooh.
But but I would say that I did laugh, but statistically there were a lot of jokes that just like did not work, that felt very bland and not specific and just didn't really work for me overall. But like, I don't know, I don't think it was funny enough to be considered a comedy. Every movie needs some laugh lines to lighten things, but like I don't know if this was like a straight up comedy, you know what I mean? Not that it's a horror comedy, is that I understand like a different type of subgenre, but like I don't think that it was. I don't know. I don't like when things are called comedies, when like movies naturally, like I said, just need some sort of levity, and you get that in humor. That's what I thought this movie was doing, as opposed to being a comedy. But I guess that is also very subjective.
I get that. I mean, because like what The Blackening is a horror comedy, and like they lean into all aspects of both. And I think that's to your point, Brian, like the ratio of it all. It's like you gotta be half and half in for the comedy and the horror. And this was more like trying to be horror and then just having lighter moments. So like the ratio of it is off for it to really be like a true horror comedy, or to see it that way when you watch it.
Because then there are horror comedies on the other end of the spectrum where you have like Shaun of the Dead, or Tucker and Dale versus Evil, you know, where it's like totally on the other side. But also like, but then there are movies like Evil Dead 2. That's a horror comedy, but like it's doing a different type of balance than this is, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah, horror comedies are a very interesting subgenre for sure.
I just have to say, I love when Jamie doesn't like something, because your rants are just it does my heart well. Just listening to you rant about the things, but they're all valid points. Like I can absolutely see everything that you're saying as far within this movie, but it really is just a matter of like you either like it or you don't, but those points are all valid. I
also think, you know, in listening to you and your gripes as well, Nikisha, like I also recognize that I'm not like defending my like of this or anything like that, but I definitely think that I'm usually more won over, and I can ignore other things with movies that have like really fun like character practical effects. But like that's not like, I liked Five Nights at Freddy's more than both of you did, and I think I was more won over by the animatronics in that, even though we all loved them. To me, that allowed me to like rate the movie higher, even though I recognize that this one and that one like are fine movies. I just like that shiny object in the movie, which is the practical like puppet effects. Does that make sense?
That's the thing too. No, that absolutely makes sense, because everyone has that thing that will suspend the disbelief of everything else that's happening, right?
Totally.
So like if you're down for the animatronics, then anything else that might not make sense, you're like, okay, I recognize it might not, but I'm still living in the world because I'm still enjoying like this stuff, you know?
What's yours? What are your two things? What is something in a horror movie that you love and love seeing so much that you can suspend the disbelief of many other things plot wise?
You know, it's gore for me. If it's disgusting and yucky and blood everywhere and insides on the outside, but it makes no sense, I'm still gonna have a good time, which is why I love the Saw movies.
Sure. So that's your shiny object or your bloody
That's my
object?
shiny object. Yes.
What about you, Jamie?
Oh my god. I don't know.
This is a hard question.
But a
It is
great
hard.
question.
Because I feel like even if there's an element of something that isn't grounded in reality, I still feel like the way that people act is just like so contingent on me being able to like keep going with a movie. It doesn't matter if there's like vampires or like whatever, but like,
Yeah.
like I just need there to be some basis for like people making certain decisions that like
Also-
seems like it makes sense.
Also, telekinesis characters.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But that makes sense, Jamie, also just purely based on like you being a therapist. So like you need people to people. And that absolutely makes sense.
Even if the premise itself, because it's like, how am I supposed to, believe that in this crazy scenario that like where does the fear and the horror come in? It has to come from, for me, it has to come from like the people. And if they are not acting in a way that like seems real, then the whole thing, I think, takes me out of it.
Yeah. That's so interesting. But I think that's great. Great question, Brian. That's fun times.
Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you.
Great question.
Well, that's the end of our episode. Thank you so much.
Right. Fantastic. Okay. Well, we have more questions for Jamie. So let's get into our next section of brains. No brains here, but they're still tasty. Okay, so Jamie, I have one long question for you, but I would like your opinion on the fact that, do you believe that people should be inclusive of family members, even if they're not so good people? Or do you think that it is healthy to remove toxic people in your life, regardless of if they even are family members?
I love this question, and fuck those toxic people.
I know that's right.
Just because you are biologically related to somebody does not give them the free pass to treat you like shit. Like that does not make a relationship, because if they weren't biologically related to you, you would not have a relationship with them. So if that is the thing that ties you to them, like keeps you like allowing them in your life, I like think about that in that way. Like if I was not related to this person, would I continue to have any relationship with them? If they've been saying this wild stuff to me or acting this way to me, and like they were a friend, they would no longer be my friend.
Yeah, that's great.
And I know, like, again, easier said than done, but I think that's a good place to start, is just recognizing like that there is somebody problematic in your life, and like if they did not hold this particular type of relationship to you, that they probably wouldn't be in your life. So that being said, like, are there ways to slowly, disentangle yourself from these people in your life? Yeah. It also depends on like what kind of relationship you feel like you want or need with them. Like if you are expecting them to treat you differently, you might not find that outcome, because what control do you have over like how they treat you versus how you like act and treat yourself ultimately? Like you can't stop them from saying the things that they're saying to you. You can't prevent them from like treating you certain ways. All you can do is like focus on protecting yourself. So like, there's one technique that I really like that works well for folks that present with some narcissistic tendencies. I think we talked about it once before. And it's called gray rocking. and it works well for people who are trying to like get a reaction out of you. And the goal is to be as boring as a rock. Just like act like, totally non-response, like emotionally non-responsive. Like you're not giving them any of that attention. You're just like one word answers, boring. Like the goal is to make them bored and so that they lose interest. And that's like one way to kind of like set a boundary around like you don't owe this person like your emotions. You don't owe this person, your energy in that way. Like
Right.
Shut that stuff down so that they can grow bored and move on to the next thing. You might have to like up the ante. You might have to like explicitly like communicate or remove yourself from their presence. And again, like this is about protecting yourself and your well-being. And ultimately, if you do feel like you need to keep a relationship with somebody for whatever reason, and like this is not me telling you that you should not have it, but like thinking about oh my god, am I losing my train of thought as I was saying it? No.
Oh no.
Where did the thought go?
Oh, no, bring it back.
Brain, what were you gonna say? It was gonna be so good. Oh, resentment. That's what I was gonna talk about. That like allowing people to be in your life with no restrictions, like no boundaries, and they're like toxic and taking advantage and just like causing harm. Like all that does is breeds so much resentment to the point where like you are not going to want that person in your life. So if you're trying to salvage the relationship, boundaries are really the answer. Like that, enacting boundaries is what prevents resentment from building in relationships. If things are happening that are hurting you in a relationship, and I don't mean like physical harm, I mean like if somebody is just treating you poorly and like that can potentially like look like physical harm, but which is also like kind of its own thing. But like if you're constantly like dealing with this like toxic energy and like very dramatic and over the top, like we saw in the movie, like, it is okay to say like, you can't talk to me that way. And
yes,
setting up the boundary protects those relationships. And ultimately, if somebody is not being responsive to your boundary, again, are they even somebody that you like want to continue to have a relationship with in your life?
Yeah. So how would you, Jamie, if you've reached the point of people are not respecting your boundaries in that way, how would you communicate with them and
fuck you, you stink,
great.
go away, you're a butthole. No,
Obsessed.
I mean, like, I think there's different ways that you can call it out depending on how you feel comfortable. My favorite one that the past therapist told me about is when somebody says something and you're kind of like, is this person saying something really fucked up right now? One great way to kind of assess what's going on is ask them, what do you mean by that? Because you're not putting anything on them in that moment. You're asking them to provide clarity. Maybe you mistook what they said for something else. Maybe the thing that they were trying to say got miscommunicated and they said it wrong, and this is their opportunity to try again. Maybe they double down on it and you're like, oh, you did say the really fucked up thing that I thought you said.
Right,
cool.
right.
But like, I love that as kind of like a way to hold somebody accountable and like let them either fix it or dig themselves deeper in a hole where they're like really emphatically like identifying the type of person that they are before you necessarily feel like you have to go to like, okay, so like that's not appropriate. But that is usually what I would say is like the next phase. If they clarify what they said and it's just as bad as you thought it was, it's like, okay, so like that's really inappropriate. Like, I don't feel comfortable having this conversation with you. I'm going to walk away from this. And if for whatever reason they are, persistent and like really trying to engage with you, like you can walk away. Like there's nothing compelling you to like stay in that space with somebody if somebody's, doing something that is not okay for you, that is crossing a boundary for you. If you need a support system to have that conversation with, if there's other people in your life that you're like, hey, I just want you to like be in this room when I have this conversation, or like, I want you to be in the house, or I need you to be in the car, like ready to go, because if this doesn't go well, then like I need to leave. Like you can absolutely do things like that. Like there are other people that you can lean on, and it doesn't have to be, you know, these people who are toxic, or like family. Like your chosen family is just, if not more valuable, because like those are the people that have shown to be incredibly supportive and always there for you. So like don't hesitate to reach out for help from them, because like that's what they're there for.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's great. Especially the asking for clarity of what do you mean? Or what did you mean
Yeah.
by that? Or
What
whatever,
do you
you know.
mean
Like,
by that?
what do you mean? I think that's very helpful.
I love that
Thank you for
question.
that.
Yeah.
That's all I have for brains. Brian, did you have anything? Are you good?
I had a question for you, Nikisha.
Okay.
So many horror movies usually have a group of people who have different relationships with each other. So, you know, each person has a different, you know, backstory with the other one, and that informs their relationship. This is a really good example. There are a lot of people in this who have a lot of backstory, you know, how their relationships are, how they were, how they formed, and all of that. And it all comes out in this one night of kind of dysfunction, of high emotion. I guess as an actress, like taking this on, and you know, if you're in the Toni Collette role, you have many different relationships with everybody. You know, Adam Scott. How would you take a script? How would you, you know, take that in and convey that and make sure that kind of every relationship was unique and lived in?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, a lot of
question,
actors
great
have
question.
great question. Yes. A lot of actors have their own sets of like background questions that they always go through with any script that they have to just kind of build their own character and their backstory, their memories, their lives, just to help inform like what's happening within the movie, within the script, within the time frame that the movie or TV show takes place, right? And so I think the first thing is really just finding the answers within the script. So like if I were to do Toni Collette's character, it's like, okay, well, how she talks to her sister gives some information of how the relationship is. So then you're just filling in the blanks from there, right? And so it's like, okay, well, why do they talk to each other in that way? Like what happened? Like, did her sister take a Christmas toy of hers when she was 10 years old, you know, and she's been resentful ever since, you know, and just stuff like that to kind of build more background so that you can be informed of like what's going on. Or even with Toni Collette and the brother-in-law, it's like, oh, well, did he say something inappropriate to her at some point, and that's why she's so like standoffish with him? Or maybe he'd said something rude to her kids, you know, and so now she knows to approach him in a specific way based on that past information. So I think that it's really good to just always have first take what the script is giving you and write down all of those details that inform you about who you are and who those relationships are. Just as simple as, this is my stepbrother, this is my aunt, this is my sister, and then, you know, other things. But there's an Actors on Actors that's really fun to listen to. It's Cillian Murphy and Margot Robbie, because of course Oppenheimer and Barbie came out this year, and they talk about how they get ready for their scripts. And Margot Robbie was just talking about how she is a very detailed person in a sense of creating the character literally like from their youth up until where they are within the movie, so that she has as much information as possible. And just throw in something fun there in that Actors on Actors, because it was Barbie. She was having a hard time because Barbie doesn't have a background. Barbie is just a toy, right? And so trying to play her that doesn't have any memories, so that doesn't inform any emotions, that doesn't inform how she moves about through life, was really hard. But the director, wow, her name is slipping my
Greta
brain.
Gerwig.
Thank you. Handed her this podcast of a woman who grew up with some type of thing that she doesn't like experience emotions, and she lives her life and she just like goes through it, and she doesn't experience any type of like emotion toward anything. And so like listening to that podcast really informed Margot Robbie on how to play Barbie, because like she kind of doesn't have those kinds of things until circumstances bring those emotions about, and she's figuring out those emotions, right? Spoiler, but not spoiler for the movie. Like Barbie is figuring out those emotions throughout the movie, and it's like, this is what anxiety is, this is what sadness is, like blah blah blah. So anyway, all that to say, I think that it's really nice to just first look at the script and get that information, and then connecting the dots, filling in the blanks from there to give yourself more background information so that you are informed of how you are talking to different characters, especially within that family dynamic.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, should we Rotten Tomatin this?
Let's
Rotten
do
tomatin.
some Rotten Tomatin.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
All right. What do you think that this movie has on Rotten? Oh, wait. Before we do Rotten Tomatoes, there is a director's cut of this movie called Krampus, the Naughty Cut. However, it's only a couple of minutes longer, and it just adds in more like family conversations that were cut as opposed
boring.
to anything else.
Ugh.
All right. So, what do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Well, Peacock tells you the score, so I don't think I can play.
Oh, it did. Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah, you hover over it; it tells you the thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 69. Nice.
Ooh.
66.
Oh, I was close. Okay.
You were very close. Krampus is a gory, good fun. Krampus is gory, good fun for fans of non-traditional holiday horror with a fondness for Joe Dante's B-movie classics, even if it doesn't have quite the savage bite its concept calls for.
Bite. Where's the bite?
Yeah, I don't even know if I would call this gory. Krampus
It's not gory.
It's that's a
specifically
poor
not that at all.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, what do you think this has out of 5 on Letterboxd? Average viewers rated this what out of 5?
What a 5.
2.8.
Jamie?
3.2.
It is a 2.9.
Oh.
Well done. Cool. Fantastic. Should we do the 4 S's?
Yeah.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
Right. The 4 S's are skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. We are going to rank them 1 through 10. 10 being great, 1 being not so great. Let's start with skulls, which is human health and mental health and human behavior. Then scares is how scary was it, and shakes, how much can you shake it off? Will this last with you? So Jamie, let's start with you. Let's start with you in skulls.
For skulls, I gave this a 5. For being mediocrely scully.
That's more than I thought you were going to give.
I know, me too.
Okay, I know I talked up a big game, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like the other characters are puppets and things, and they count, and they're doing exactly what I want them to be doing, which is causing chaos.
Biting humans. Yes.
Sure. Unexpected twist on the skulls category.
Right.
Scares?
For scares, I gave this a 1. I just didn't find this scary at all. I think that they cut the horror with humor too much. And so it really just, there was no jump scare. There was nothing. Yeah. It gets a 1 for the disturbing Jack in the Box's mouth unhinging.
Sure.
Mm.
And then shakes?
For shakes, I gave this a 3. I won't forget I gave it 1 for the disturbing Jack in the Box, 1 for the disturbing Krampus face, and 1 for the disgusting tongues.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Nikisha, what about you?
I gave this a 4 for skulls. But it's all the stuff that Jamie said, but the reason, and I thought I was giving it a higher score because I thought Jamie was going to give it a 1, but I gave it a 4 because I thought,
wrong? Should I go
no,
back? No,
you did it exactly how you're supposed to. But I gave it a 4 because I'm like, the family dynamic makes sense to me. So that's where I gave the points to, because that's definitely how some families are. And that's what some people have to deal with during the holidays. So that I gave that a 4. Scares, I also gave it a 1 because it's not scary at all. And then Shakes, even though I liked this movie, I gave it a 2 because I don't have to watch this again. But I enjoyed my time watching it. So yeah.
Great. I gave this a 5 for Skulls. Because I thought that I agree with Nikisha in terms of like the family dynamic and stuff, and I gave it 5 for those moments, even though they didn't people in some moments. The connections that they made during the Krampusness of it all, I liked. I same as you, I gave it a 1 for Scares, and for Shakes I gave it a 6. I don't know if it's made my like every holiday season we watch Krampus at all, but again, my shiny object is puppets and like really well done practical effects, so I was very into that, so that's my 6.
Nice.
Let's go with suggestions. Nikisha, you almost alluded to yours earlier. What's your suggestion?
I did. My suggestion is Haunted Mansion because that's what it felt like to me.
Interesting.
Like the whole vibe of it's fun scary, like Disney scary, but not scary. Like
The
Mickey's
Eddie
not
Murphy
so scary.
one or the new one?
The Eddie Murphy one. Yeah, I haven't seen the new one, but the Eddie Murphy one. So it just felt like when I got a sense of it being that kind of vibe, then I was like, oh, okay, now I'm here for the ride because it's not going to be dark. It's not going to be dark comedy. So yeah.
Jamie?
I went just with a movie that I like more. That's a Christmas movie, not really horror, unless you think about the third act a little bit. But I went with Home Alone. I just have Home Alone in my brain. You might not be dead, but those two should have been dead 20 times over in that film, and that's pretty horrifying.
That is horrifying. Actually, there's a TikTok video going around of if Home Alone was a horror movie, and so they do a whole trailer to make it seem like it's a horror movie instead. It's hilarious.
I love that.
Yes.
I've never seen it, but apparently A Christmas Horror Story is an anthology of Christmas horror segments where like Santa Claus fights the Krampus. It was straight to video. It's supposed to be wild. I'll definitely check that out. Also, it's next week's episode, but spoiler alert, I really like Violent Night. Just another like, wild Christmas film. Also another one, Anna and the Apocalypse. We did it last year.
Oh yeah.
It's a fun, that one you just like, I feel like that one you just like give into the premise much earlier than you do Krampus because it's a musical.
Sure.
But yeah.
And so funny that it was just like everything just happened on Christmas, but there was like nothing else Christmas related.
Yeah. Totally.
It's fun times. Okay. That wraps up our episode of Krampus. You can follow us on all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, @TalkHorrorPod, POD. And Brian, where can they listen to us?
You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Hi, YouTube.
Hey.
You find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you.
Thank you. Woo.
Fantastic. Do you have a quote, Brian, that you want to end with?
Yeah, I think I'd like to end with, where's the nog? I need to get merry.
Absolutely.
Oh, God.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.